My name is Dorothy Mae, and I'm 73 years old. What I'm about to tell you happened just last month in our quiet neighborhood in Spokane, Washington. It's a story that changed everything I thought I knew about family, trust, and the mysterious ways life has of evening the score. I've lived in the same two-story colonial house for 47 years. My late husband Ernest and I bought it when we were newlyweds, back when the neighborhood was filled with young families and white picket fences. Ernest passed 5 years ago, leaving me alone in our big house with nothing but memories and his old rocking chair by the window. My son Robert, God bless him, has always been a good boy. But when he married Patricia 3 years ago, everything started to change. Patricia, or Patty, as she insists everyone call her, came from what she calls humble beginnings. She grew up in a small apartment with her mother and two sisters, never owning anything of value. At first, I felt sorry for her. I tried to welcome her into our family with open arms, but Patty had different plans from the very beginning. It started small. Little comments about how wasteful it was for one old woman to live in such a big house, how the neighborhood was up and coming and property values were rising. She'd walk through my rooms, touching my antique furniture, asking about my jewelry, always with that calculating look in her eyes. Mother Dorothy, she'd say in that sickeningly sweet voice, "You really should think about downsizing. All this maintenance must be so exhausting for someone your age." I'd smile politely and change the subject, but I could see the wheels turning in her head. She wasn't worried about my well-being. She was sizing up her future inheritance. Things escalated 6 months ago when Robert lost his job at the lumber mill. They'd been living in a cramped apartment across town, barely making ends meet. Patty started dropping heavier hints about me helping family and how blood should stick together. Before I knew it, they'd packed their bags and moved into my spare bedroom, claiming it was just temporary until Robert found work. Temporary became permanent real quick. Asterisk. If you're enjoying the story of family drama and unexpected justice, please hit that subscribe button below. Stories like these take time to research and share, and your support means the world to me. Patty immediately started acting like she owned the place. She rearranged my kitchen cabinets without asking. She threw away some of my late husband's belongings, claiming they were cluttering up the place. She invited her friends over for loud parties that went late into the night, treating my home like her personal entertainment venue. But the worst part was how she treated me in my own house. She'd contradict me in front of guests, roll her eyes when I spoke, and make snide remarks about old people who don't know when to step aside. She started referring to the house as our place, would give tours to visitors as if she were the lady of the manor. Robert seemed oblivious to his wife's behavior. Whenever I tried to talk to him about Patty's disrespect, he'd dismiss my concerns as generational differences or adjustment issues. He was so desperate to keep his wife happy that he turned a blind eye to how she was slowly pushing me out of my own home. 3 weeks ago, I discovered the extent of Patty's scheme when I accidentally overheard a phone conversation she was having with her sister. I'd gone upstairs to get my reading glasses and heard Patty's voice coming from the guest room. The door was slightly ajar, and something in her tone made me pause. What I heard next made my blood run cold. It's all falling into place, Linda, Patty was saying. The old woman's getting more forgetful by the day. It's just yesterday she couldn't remember where she put her car keys. Robert's already worried about her living alone. It won't take much to convince him she needs professional care. My heart pounded as I pressed closer to the door. The house is worth at least $400,000 now, Patty continued. Once we get her declared incompetent and moved into that nursing home on Elm Street, Robert will have power of attorney. And since he can't make a decision without consulting his loving wife, she laughed, a cold, calculating sound that made my skin crawl. But what if she fights it? Linda asked through the speaker. With what? She's got no other family. And who's going to believe a confused old woman over her devoted son and daughter-in-law, who've been caring for her? I've already been documenting every little slip-up, every time she repeats herself or forgets something. Dr. Henderson at the clinic owes me a favor from when I used to work at the hospital. He'll back up whatever medical assessment we need. Asterisk I stumbled backward, my hand over my mouth to stifle a gasp. They were planning to have me declared incompetent and steal my house. My own son was being manipulated into betraying me, and I was powerless to stop it. Or so I thought. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. How could I prove what Patty was planning? Who would believe me? Robert was completely under her spell, and I had no other family to turn to. At 73, I felt more alone and vulnerable than I ever had, even after Ernest died. Asterisk, but Ernest always used to say, Dorothy, when people show you who they really are, believe them the first time. Patty had shown me exactly who she was. And it was time I started believing it. Asterisk, the next morning. I did something I hadn't done in years. I got dressed up in my best Sunday outfit and drove downtown to see my old friend Margaret, who worked as a legal secretary at Harrison and Associates. Margaret and I had known each other since high school, and if anyone could help me navigate this nightmare, it was her. Asterisk, 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 don't forget to subscribe to hear more incredible true stories like this. 1. The ending will absolutely shock you. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Margaret listened to my story with growing outrage. Dorothy Mae, she said, shaking her head, you're not the first elderly person I've seen in this situation. These kinds of financial abuse cases are more common than you'd think. Asterisk, she introduced me to Mr. Harrison himself, a distinguished gentleman in his 60s who specialized in elder law. After hearing my story, he leaned back in his leather chair and smiled. Asterisk, Mrs. Whitmore. He said, I believe we can help you, but we'll need to be strategic about this. Your daughter-in-law is counting on you being passive and isolated. Let's prove her wrong. Asterisk, Mr. Harrison explained that Washington State had strict laws against elder financial abuse, and what Patty was planning constituted fraud and conspiracy. But we needed evidence, solid proof of her intentions and methods. Asterisk, the phone conversation you overheard is a good start. But it's hearsay, he explained. We need to catch her in the act of implementing her plan. Asterisk, that's when he introduced me to his private investigator, a sharp-eyed woman named Janet who specialized in family fraud cases. Janet was about my age, with steel gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. I liked her immediately. Asterisk, here's what we're going to do, Janet explained. You're going to go home and act like nothing happened. But you'll be wearing a recording device, and I'll be monitoring the situation. We need to catch Patty either forging documents, bribing medical professionals, or discussing her plans in detail. Asterisk, I drove home that afternoon feeling more empowered than I had in months. For the first time since this nightmare began, I had allies and a plan. Asterisk, Patty was in the kitchen when I walked in, rearranging my spice rack again. Where have you been, Mother Dorothy? She asked with fake concern. You were gone for hours. Robert and I were worried sick. Asterisk, just ran some errands, dear, I replied sweetly. Nothing for you to worry about. Asterisk. She studied my face suspiciously. But I'd had 73 years of practice keeping my thoughts to myself when necessary. Asterisk that. Evening, Robert sat me down in the living room with a serious expression. Patty hovered nearby, trying to look concerned. Asterisk, Mom, Robert began. Patty and I have been talking, and we're worried about you. You've seemed more forgetful lately, and this house is getting to be too much for you to handle alone. Asterisk, I felt the wire, taped to my chest, recording every word. I'm fine, Robert. I've been taking care of this house longer than you've been alive. But Mom, Patty interjected, moving closer. Just yesterday you spent 20 minutes looking for your glasses when they were on your head, and last week you left the stove on all night. What if there had been a fire? Asterisk, I hadn't left the stove. Patty had done that herself and then discovered it the next morning, making a big show of how dangerous it was. But now I understood it was all part of her documentation. Asterisk, maybe it's time to consider a nice retirement community. Robert continued, glancing at his wife for encouragement. Somewhere you'd have people to look after you and activities to keep you busy. You mean a nursing home? I said flatly. Not a nursing home, Mom. An assisted living facility. There's a lovely place on Elm Street that Patty found. They have beautiful gardens and asterisk, I'm not ready for assisted living, Robert. This is my home. Asterisk, Patty stepped forward, her mask of concern slipping slightly. Mother, Dorothy, you need to be realistic. You're not getting any younger. And Robert and I can't keep worrying about you every day. What if you fall down the stairs? What if you have a medical emergency and no one's here to help? Asterisk, the conversation continued for another hour with them, presenting their concerns and me firmly declining their suggestions. By the end, I could see frustration creeping into Patty's voice, though she tried to maintain her caring facade. Asterisk, over the next 2 days, Janet's surveillance equipment captured everything. Patty making phone calls to the Elm Street facility, discussing my mother-in-law who needs immediate placement due to advancing dementia. Patty researching power of attorney laws online. Patty meeting with Dr. Henderson at a coffee shop downtown, though we couldn't hear their conversation from Janet's van. Asterisk. But the smoking gun came on the 3rd day. Asterisk, I was pretending to nap in my bedroom when I heard Patty on the phone again, this time with someone new. I crept to the top of the stairs, my recording device capturing every word. Asterisk, yes, I understand the evaluation process, Patty was saying. But Dr. Henderson assures me that with the right documentation, we can expedite things. The woman is clearly suffering from dementia. She can't remember conversations we had the day before. She leaves appliances on. She gets lost in her own neighborhood. Asterisk, every word was a lie, but delivered with such conviction that anyone listening would believe her. Asterisk, once the competency hearing is scheduled, we'll need to move quickly, she continued. I've already spoken to the facility and they have a bed available. The house will need to be sold to pay for her care, of course, but as her son's power of attorney, Robert will handle all the financial arrangements. Asterisk, I heard her laugh again. That same cold sound that had chilled me days earlier. Asterisk, the old bird has no idea what's coming. By the end of next week, she'll be safely tucked away in a nursing home, and Robert and I will finally have the life we deserve. Asterisk, that was it. That was all the evidence Mr. Harrison needed. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Make sure to subscribe right now, because what happened next is absolutely incredible. Karma works in the most unexpected ways. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The next morning, I woke up early and made my special blueberry pancakes, Ernest's favorite recipe. When Robert and Patty came down for breakfast, I served them with a smile. Asterisk, what's the special occasion? Robert asked, digging in with enthusiasm. Asterisk, oh, no special occasion, I replied casually. I just wanted to make a nice breakfast for my family before the investigators arrive. Asterisk, Patty's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Investigators? Asterisk, yes, dear. The state investigators who specialize in elder abuse cases. They should be here any minute now, along with my attorney and a few police officers. Asterisk, the color drained from Patty's face. I don't understand. What investigators? Asterisk, Robert looked confused, glancing between his wife and me. Mom, what's going on? Asterisk. Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see Mr. Harrison's car in the driveway, followed by an official-looking sedan and a police cruiser. Asterisk, those would be my guests, I said, standing up and smoothing my apron. Patty, dear, I believe they'll want to speak with you first. Asterisk, what happened next was like watching a carefully orchestrated play unfold. Mr. Harrison entered with 2 state investigators and Detective Morris from the Spokane Police Department. They had warrants to search the house and official documents that made Robert's eyes grow wider by the minute. Asterisk, Patricia Whitmore. Detective Morris announced, "You're under investigation for conspiracy to commit elder financial abuse, fraud, and attempted theft. Patty tried to run. She actually bolted for the back door like a common criminal, still wearing her bathrobe and slippers. But Janet was waiting in the backyard apparently. She'd anticipated this possibility. The investigators played the recordings for Robert, who sat at my kitchen table with his head in his hands. His wife's voice filled the room, cold and calculating, describing in detail how she planned to have me declared incompetent and steal my house. She said I had dementia. I told Robert gently. She documented every little normal mistake I made as evidence of mental decline. She was going to have me committed to take my home. Robert looked up at me with tears in his eyes. "Home? I'm so sorry. I had no idea. She said she was worried about you, that she wanted to help, double quotes asterisk. She manipulated you, son. She saw what she wanted and developed a plan to get it. The only thing she didn't count on was an old woman who still had some fight left in her." The investigation revealed the full scope of Patty's scheme. She'd forged several documents, including a fake medical assessment and a preliminary power of attorney form, with Robert's forged signature. She'd bribed Dr. Henderson with information about Medicare fraud at his clinic, information she'd gathered during her brief stint as a hospital administrator. She'd even started the process of having me declared incompetent, filing preliminary paperwork with the court. But the most shocking discovery came when they searched Patty's belongings. Hidden in her jewelry box were photocopies of my bank statements, insurance policies, and property deeds. She'd been planning this for months, maybe even from the day she first walked into my house. The legal proceedings moved swiftly. Patty was charged with elder abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery, and attempted theft. Dr. Henderson lost his medical license and faced his own criminal charges. The nursing home on Elm Street was investigated for accepting bribes to provide false documentation. Patty tried to claim she was acting out of genuine concern for my welfare. But the recordings spoke for themselves. Her own words, cold and calculating, describing me as the old bird who had no idea what was coming. Robert filed for divorce immediately. He moved out of my house and into a small apartment downtown, devastated by his wife's betrayal, but determined to rebuild his relationship with me. It's been slow going, but we're getting there. Trust, once broken, takes time to repair. The house remained mine, of course. My beautiful colonial with its white picket fence and Ernest's rocking chair by the window. The house where I raised my son, where I loved my husband. Where I learned that sometimes you have to fight for what's yours, but the story doesn't end there. 3 days after Patty's arrest, exactly 3 days, as if the universe had a sense of poetic timing, I received a phone call that changed everything again. It was from a law firm in Seattle, calling about Ernest's late brother William, who had passed away 6 months earlier. William had been estranged from the family for decades, living as a recluse in the mountains of Montana. None of us had heard from him in 20 years. Mrs. Whitmore. The lawyer said, "I'm calling to inform you that you've been named as the sole beneficiary of William Whitmore's estate." I nearly dropped the phone. "I'm sorry, what?" "Your late brother-in-law left you everything in his will. The estate includes mineral rights to a copper mine in Montana, several investment accounts, and a property portfolio. The total value is approximately $2.3 million. I sat down hard in Ernest's rocking chair, staring out at my garden where the roses were just beginning to bloom. $2.3 million. Patty had schemed and plotted to steal my $400,000 house, destroying her marriage and facing years in prison in the process. Meanwhile, 3 days after her arrest, I inherited more money than she could have dreamed of. If that's not karma, I don't know what is. The money has allowed me to do something I've always wanted. I've established a foundation to help elderly people facing financial abuse. With Janet's help, we've already assisted 12 families in situations similar to mine. We provide legal support, investigative services, and emotional counseling for seniors who are being targeted by unscrupulous family members. I still live in my colonial house with a white picket fence. I still sit in Ernest's rocking chair by the window every evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. But now I know something I didn't know before. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well and helping others. Do the same Robert visits every Sunday now? We have dinner together and talk about his father, about forgiveness, about the importance of seeing people for who they really are. He's dating a lovely woman named Sarah who teaches kindergarten and loves my blueberry pancakes. She treats me with genuine respect and warmth, never once asking about property values or inheritance plans. As for Patty, she's serving 18 months in county jail and faces 5 years of probation after her release. She'll never be allowed to work in healthcare again, and her reputation in town is ruined. Sometimes I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. Then I remember her cold laugh. When she called me the old bird and described how I had no idea what was coming. She was right about one thing. I had no idea what was coming. It wasn't what she expected. Life has a funny way of teaching lessons to those who need them most. Patty learned that greed and manipulation eventually catch up with you. Robert learned that love should never blind you to cruelty. And I learned that even at 73. I'm stronger than I ever imagined. Sometimes people ask me if I'm angry about what happened. If I hold grudges against my former daughter-in-law for trying to steal my home and have me committed. The truth is, I'm grateful. Her scheme exposed her true character and ultimately led to justice. More importantly, it led to my unexpected inheritance and the opportunity to help other elderly people facing similar situations. Ernest used to say that everything happens for a reason, even when we can't see the reason at the time. I used to think that was just something people said to make sense of life's unfairness. Now I know better. 3 days. That's how long it took for karma to come calling. 3 days from Patty's arrest to the phone call that changed my life. 3 days from her scheme falling apart to my greatest blessing arriving. If there's one thing I've learned from this experience, it's that you should never underestimate an old woman who's been around long enough to recognize the difference between genuine love and calculated manipulation. We may move a little slower, but we see a lot more than people think. And sometimes, just sometimes, the universe has a way of making things right. My name is Dorothy Mae Whitmore. I'm 73 years old, and this is my story of how karma came calling in just 3 days. Thank you for listening, and remember, family should lift you up, not tear you down. Trust your instincts, document everything, and never be afraid to fight for what's rightfully yours. The white picket fence still surrounds my house, and Ernest's rocking chair still sits by the window. But now they represent something more than just memories. They represent victory, justice, and the sweet satisfaction of watching karma work its magic. Some stories have happy endings, after all.